gonna say that was a quick.
No, yeah, it's only like a almost 4 minute song, so just looped it or put two together. Well, 1 1/4. Real question is, does Josh even know who all the Packers drafted? Because I couldn't name every Vikings pick if I wanted to.
Eric Stokes, Josh Myers, Amari Rogers, Royce Newman, Tedderell Slatton, Jamar Jean Charles, Cole Van Lanen, Isaiah McDuffie, and Kylan Hill. Of course I know my players. I may also be creating a document with the grades of all the people that we had correspondence in.
What's that, one more time?
I'm our draft sheet. I'm adding things to that about like the Vikings, the Packers, the Colts, the Bengals, and I was going to get the Steelers on there too.
Gotcha.
Since those were the teams that we discussed the most.
Right. And I did get, it was very short notice, so I didn't expect a lot, but we did get one post-draft correspondent in, so we'll play that for the Bears.
Oh yeah, that's right, we talked about the Bears too.
Oh yeah, my buddy, I know you don't know him, but it's my buddy David. Oop, it looks like Eric sent me a message. So I'll just read.
You want to sound like a robot again?
He was too insulted by your comments, Josh. Holy shit, there's already only 20 seconds? Oh, man. Where'd the time go, Josh?
Ate it.
You say you ate it?
Yep.
And we do have one whole concurrent viewer, so we can't just slack off and potentially edit it later. Boo! What's going on, guys? It is Sunday, May 2nd, 2021. This is podcast number 72. We are riding the wave. We are getting lost in the moment. We are here to give you our initial draft thoughts, maybe a grade or two. We'll see. But before we do that, we'll let Walters intro us in with a happy little ditty. Take it away, Walters.
Welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix with your lovely hostesses, Garlic Johnson.
We're going to need to take a break here while I change my pants.
And Josh Mitchell.
Sitting here undefeated in everything I do, except fantasy football. No, I'm not allowed to handle crayons.
Not after last time.
Not after last time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Garlic and Josh.
So, Josh, I did the thing like I did last time where I didn't hit record on the audio, and just so I don't have to redo the whole thing, we're just going to restart, okay? It's going to be like another 30 seconds. I apologize. Please forgive me for I've sinned. For the one YouTube viewer, we love you, and we're going to leave this live so you can say you were here live and raw. All right. It is Sunday, May 2nd, 2021. This is podcast number 72. We are here to ride the wave. We are here to get lost in the moment, sensationalism, up the yin yang. We are here to give you our draft thoughts and our grades and potentially a little dynasty, some dynasty nuggets too. But before we do that, we're going to let Walters bring us in with a happy little ditty. So Walters, take it away, pal.
Welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix with your lovely hostesses, Garlic Johnson.
We're going to need to take a break here while I change my pants.
And Josh Mitchell.
Sitting here undefeated in everything I do, except fantasy football. No, I'm not allowed to handle crayons.
Not after last time.
Not after last time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Garlic and Josh.
Getting some weird deja vu here, Josh. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlic Johnson, and we are joined by your other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, say hi to the folks out there.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks, Josh. Hidden Oaks Overdose at gmail.com, facebook.com/hoodpod, and anchor.fm/hoodpod are all the places you can interact with us, and we would appreciate that you do so. I know we've got some interaction for the FanTASTY zone today. The segment start times will be down in the description below for all you audio listeners. For the YouTube listeners, they'll be there still, but they'll be off by like 5-ish minutes, so you got to figure that out on your own. At Levi Oki Illustration is the beautiful man responsible for all the beautiful art that you can currently see. So, Levi Oki, we greatly appreciate everything you have done and will continue to do. Josh, how's your Sunday going, pal? This is a rare Sunday pod.
It's going well. Got home last night late, so slept in a bit, and went and picked up the dogs after doing some grocery shopping, then had our draft. How's your day going, Gar?
Good.
Usually you're about 6 hours deep in Xbox, aren't you?
What is it, 1? Yeah, so we usually start about 8, so only about 5 hours deep right now. But yeah, you're pretty much exactly accurate. Pick up the dogs. That mean you guys gave away the dogs, like a doggy daycare for the evening, for the wedding, or what?
Yeah, just because we knew we'd be gone from 10 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, essentially. So we didn't feel comfortable leaving them out and didn't want to bother anybody to come over and grab them and take them out. So yeah, we boarded them. We usually board them when we do things out of town. Gotcha.
So do you think did you get some reports back? Were they well behaved, or?
Yeah, they get report cards back. There's no issues. They got, they were a joy. We always get told how entertaining they can be, and so yeah, they definitely have their Jekyll and Hyde moments, and so they're typically their Dr. Jekyll when they're with people that don't watch them 24/7 like us.
Oh, so you believe the grades then?
Yeah. I don't think Kaya forged it.
Well, are you 100% sure on that? Because you've been known to have some almost like supernatural animals kind of associated with you and your family. So what's your confidence level on that? 90, 95, 80, 60?
Yeah, like in between 50 and 70.
That's more than half. So, I mean, that's not bad. I'd take it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Josh, so this is something I wanted to touch on last podcast, but we just kind of got mashed for time. It was the draft spectacular. We spent most of our time talking about the draft. It makes sense. But I personally, and I think you have too, just based on kind of all the ideas you've been throwing out, I feel like you and I have had a good off-season or spring or whatever for like ideation. We've been coming up with a lot of good ideas for the podcast and fantasy leagues and stuff like that. So I don't know, do you feel the same way, or is it just kind of me who's feel like they've been having a good spring?
No, I feel like much like the NFL, we're entering our 4th season, and so we're at that point in our careers where we know what to expect. We have this sort of routine in place, and it allows us to experiment a little bit more with that freedom. And so yeah, we're hitting it full swing and knocking it out of the park 9 out of 10 times.
Well, Josh, I appreciate your optimism in that. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about there in the chit chat section. Josh, let's head right into the old FanTASTY zone, and I'm right down the segment start time. So again, I don't have any extra work after the draft like I did, or after the podcast like I did last time, knocking the rust off and all that. So Josh, do you have any sponsors for the FanTASTY zone?
I ate my sponsors already.
What were your sponsors?
3-day-old Arby's jalapeno poppers and macaroni and cheese.
Now, 3 days later, how do you prepare those? Do you have like an air fryer? Because I imagine the microwave would kind of ruin them. So is that an air fryer or an oven situation, or do you just throw them bitches right in the microwave?
I don't even think I heated them up.
You just ate. I mean, that wouldn't be the worst thing cold, honestly. Just breaded cream cheese and jalapeno. That'd be fine cold, I think. As long as it's...
No, we left it out on the counter.
Are you, I don't know if you're being serious or not.
I'm not. No, I don't even know what they were warmed. Nikita brought them into me since we were drafting, and she got replaced by the actual team owner.
Right.
So,
which I hope Nikita's not upset, but genuinely I thought Brian wasn't going to be there. That was the thing. So I know she did a lot of work to get ready for it, then just to get kind of not, pooped on, but hopefully Nikita's not upset.
No, I don't think so.
Excellent. Well,
she did exactly what you told her to do and went and watched Grays.
Awesome. Well, she told me that's what she was going to do beforehand, so I just kind of slowed down her process by maybe 20, 30 minutes. So I don't have any sponsors either. I've just got some delicious Detroit Lake City tap water. Get it right out of the bathroom because the bathroom tap tastes better than the kitchen tap for some reason. So whether it's because one has more chemicals than the other, I'm not sure. But the bathroom tap is where we go. It's all about that delicious bathroom sink water.
Oh, yeah.
So, Josh, you can see the first bullet point there. We speculated a bit. You said there was not a lot to talk about on Thursday when the news broke, but things have only gotten more interesting for Rodgers since Thursday. Do you have any further comment? Is this still much ado about nothing? Is this all being blown out of proportion? Or are you, as a Packers fan, actually starting to get worried a bit?
Well, I believe I had said at the time that where there's smoke, there's fire, and I'm still sitting in that camp at this point. You hear a lot of speculation as to, what happened, what's going on. Head coach, like Matt LaFleur, says he doesn't want Rodgers to go anywhere. The president, Mark Murphy, says that Rodgers won't play anywhere else. It seems that Rodgers and Goody have the biggest constraint or the biggest issues with each other.
Yeah.
That might get blown out of proportion. I just keep thinking back to with McCarthy, how Rodgers is just like, or where every report that came out was Rodgers hates McCarthy. Rodgers wants McCarthy gone. And I believe some of the early stuff he did on McAfee's show is, no, it's the media, and that's what they do. They do what they want for clicks. So part of me is on that side, like, well, yeah, it's the media. They do everything for clicks, but at the same time, who could blame the guy? And then this morning when I was driving to pick up the dogs, I was listening to Dave Sinekin on the radio because he was filling in for the 11 o'clock hour. And he was saying that, like everything that's coming out, it sounds like Green Bay went and offered a restructuring this offseason, which we know, but Rodgers was looking for an extension. And when that wasn't offered, it was kind of like a spit in the face. And so I'm on Team Raj where he, if he leaves, that's, it's not the best situation for Green Bay. But if he leaves, it's not because he didn't want to stay. It's because Green Bay basically kicked him out the door. And it has something to do with the Love situation draft last year. But it has a lot more to do with the offseason this year, I believe.
Gotcha.
As in postseason re-signing, restructuring, that sort of thing.
So I won't not say that I wasn't trying to get a couple other things ready because this pod's a little bit stirred at the moment. So I'm not saying I wasn't perfectly listening to your every word. But did you reflect on your thoughts of how because you talked about Rodgers and Goot probably having the biggest strain in the relationship there. That's the biggest or the weakest link, however you want to spin it. But did you talk about the ultimatum? How do you feel? Because the reports are the ultimatum is Rodgers won't return unless Goot is gone. Whether or not that's true, let's bring that out of it for a second. What do you think about that? Are you still Team Raj even with that ultimatum, or is that a little too petty for a star quarterback?
It is petty, but that's, I'm still in the camp that doesn't sound like something, that sounds like something where Rodgers said one thing and it gets blown out of proportion until he actually says, yeah, I'm not coming back till Goot's gone. He could have said something along the lines of, speaking with general management, it's been a headache. I don't want to, enter negotiations with this person anymore. And so it can be taken as, okay, well, Rodgers wants Goot gone because he's general manager and doesn't want to meet with him for, So it is, I mean, it's petty, but at the same time, I don't think it's petty enough to the point where, super petty would be him showing up and throwing an interception every pass of the game until he gets benched, just so he gets his paycheck and then he sticks it to Goot. So I do think that where it is a little petty, it's not going to be, I'm not going to go out and burn Favre jerseys.
Sure.
Or not Favre, Rodgers jerseys.
Right.
I was used to the Favre ones getting burnt.
Sure. Yeah, when he showed up in purple, he was not popular. We won't like I said, we won't continue to feed a fed horse. My only other thought is, I know you mentioned that, and I agree, part of this is the media. The media does do things for clicks, this and that, but obviously the story came from somewhere, right? So if the only involved parties were Rodgers and the Packers, obviously, unless someone was tapping their phone lines, the story was leaked by someone. So whether it's the Packers trying to protect themselves or Rodgers trying to apply pressure, I mean, they wanted this to happen, like this exact scenario. One of the two parties, if not both. So I just think that's interesting that it leaked right before the draft. I can't tell if that'd be more beneficial to the Packers or more beneficial to to Rodgers. I don't know, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, it got leaked by one of the two parties.
And one of the things that Senecan said this morning was that it seems that it was leaked from Rodgers' camp because it seemed well orchestrated. They knew it would get the most coverage during the NFL draft, which it got a lot of it. And so it seems like it would be Rodgers' camp, which it makes sense because Green Bay has been playing defense on their comments for the most part, from what I can tell. I do think that Rodgers I don't think Rodgers has an issue with the team or the coaching. It has a lot to do with just the disrespect he's felt with this offseason in general.
Sure. All right, well, we'll move on. I was just curious to get your thoughts as things keep evolving. Potentially, he goes to the Broncos. To me, that's an interesting landing spot. But I mean, if that's where Raj wants to go, that's where Raj wants to go. So,
did you listen to that Mark Schlereth
on Pat? Interview? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be because I'm bitter about the whole situation, but he seemed like such a tool during his conversations.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he is a tool.
So like the comment that Rodgers made, I'll let you know when I find out. It, to me, after listening to Rodgers on Pat every Tuesday, to me that sounds more like, I haven't heard any of this. So like it's more of his dry sarcasm, like, yeah, well, when I find out, I'll let you know.
And that's possible. I mean, we'll never know for sure. I do want to highlight...
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said no, absolutely. We won't know for sure unless Rodgers writes down like his memoirs.
Correct. I do want to highlight, since we're broadcasting earlier than normal, Eric's is in the chat because it's not quite bedtime for Eric's yet. So Eric said in the chat, bye-bye Rodgers, and he said he'd look good in black and yellow. So would you guys want Big Ben for one more year until J-Lo is ready? Josh?
Yeah, no, I'm trying not to burst out in laughter.
Sorry, Eric's, but we appreciate you showing up. We actually it says we have 3 concurrents right now, so I don't know if that's Brian, Brad, and Eric's or who's all here, but we appreciate you coming in. Moving on to a Facebook thing. Jack said he submitted this for meme of the week, and again, this is just the easiest way for me to display it quickly because I'm lazy. But there we go. Who ran the fastest 40? We don't want that. We want who was the coolest name. No one in our rookie draft took Brady Breeze. No one took who took Funk? I want to know who took Funk.
I don't think anybody did.
Not in our draft, but in the real draft. I mean, that was a name out there. Brady Breeze, Funk. There was a guy named like Goosefellow or Goosefeather or some bullshit. Those guys should be drafted or picked up, signed by the Vikings right now for $10 billion just for the jersey sales alone. I also put down in the notes that we've been, this is not even me tooting our horn a little bit, but we did get some rave reviews, Josh. There are people telling us that our last podcast was pretty good. Do you feel like we put on a good show, or what are your feelings on the pod from Thursday?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Sally, for listening to the podcast.
My mother?
Yeah,
did you reach out to my mom?
I believe that positive comments about our show can only come from mothers because we are not good at what we do.
Sure,
so,
absolutely not. All right, well, shout out to Mom. No, but we did hear good things from Brian. I mean, obviously, Brian's always nice. And we heard good things from Bradley, I believe. We heard good things from Mika. And I feel bad if I'm excluding someone, but we got multiple like good jobs. Hey, we like Levi for sure. He said we need more costume changes in a pod, at least a minimum of 4 costume changes. So we'll have to work on some more costume bits.
Well, the camera only gets like my shoulders up. I usually change socks 6 or 7 times at show, so because I get sweaty when I get nervous.
Oh, trust me, pal. I had to open the window. I was always podcast with the window closed, so my neighbors would have to listen to this, but. I'm a little hot right now, so I feel it. I couldn't even be wearing socks. But you prefer socks even if you're sweaty?
Oh yeah, gotta have my socks on. Otherwise, I have to look at my nasty ass 9 toenails.
All right. Well, we also got some YouTube comments from Jack. These are all from our last video on Thursday. He said Garlic pulling a Walters, muting himself at the start of the pod. It happens, pal. We were rusty. Next comment from Jack says. Min 3000 on that. Min 3000 on that Champion of Champions League. Would be honored to choose my 4 gladiators to represent the victorious POD. We'll talk about that later. And then Jack lastly said, I'm extremely insulted you guys never covered the huge success of the DFS play along last year, plus the crazy finish to it. Who won that again? I don't remember who won. Based on the comment, I'm gonna guess it was Jack. Is that a fair assumption?
That is very fair.
Okay. We also got an email. Our favorite contributor, the Brian Knupp. We just got to spend time with Brian, which is a rarity because he's a very important man. But we got an email from Brian, and I've been talking a lot, Josh. I doubt you have it pulled up, but if I stalled for a good 30, 60 seconds, would you be willing to pull up the email, or do you just want me to read it? Because I got it.
Go ahead and stall.
All right, I'll be stalling, pal. We've got a couple in the chat here. Obviously, you can see it because you're in the chat yourself. But Brad said Rodgers to TB. That is probably the solution that makes the least sense, Brad. But, I mean, could you imagine Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers running like some sort of 2 QB sets? That'd be wild. Josh, you looks like you've settled in. You're ready? Go for it, pal.
Brian Knupp sent it to us yesterday. Hi, guys. Just finished listening to the Hoodcast pre-draft show. It was so much information that my head became somewhat dizzy. Although that may be a natural state these days. Not sure if any helped me prepare or not. It was nice hearing from your correspondents in the field, but it felt somewhat sad that I wasn't chosen to do analysis for a team. We need help on the line. Our cornerbacks need help. Blah, blah, blah. It's the same spiel for all teams. Really liked hearing from Carmel Bear. Always a laugh. Josh, lessons for how to tie a tie will be held Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 behind the 7-Eleven. Where do you think I got the lessons? Looking forward to the post-draft pod. Love the Grum. Your friend forever, Brian, period. And there was no other additional information for codes. Did he use hidden ink?
No, I'm sure he's been crafting his scavenger hunt, his next thing for us. He's probably going to wait to hit us with it in the fall because we just got a couple shows here. It's not enough to build like a full arc. So give Brian some time. But he finished it with your friend forever. I mean, does that warm your heart the way it does me? It
does. Yeah. I guess, now I can go to my grave saying I have 3 friends.
That 3's not a bad number, Josh. So yeah, I think that's all the interaction we got. I covered Facebook, I covered YouTube, I covered the Gmail, I covered the rave reviews. One other thing we'll talk a little bit more about monetization later because it's something we wanted to get to last time, but we got cut short. So I promised Josh I forgot to do it, but I was going to put your Venmo in the description, but I didn't. But anyone who's listening should know your Venmo. But it's just right now we're still trying to figure out the monetization thing. But we've been 100% successful in podcasts so far. So shout out to Brad for the first ever tip we got. And, right now Venmo is the best way to just give us a little contribution because we obviously get 100% of that money. If we ended up going through like some sort of subscription model or some sort of service, they'd be taking a cut. They'd be processing fees, all this and that. So right now, Venmo, we get 100% of that. So yeah, if you like what we're doing, we'll put our tip jars out there and you can reward as you deem fit or not at all. It's up to you. So just want to let you know that those are there. All right, Josh, we'll move into the draft here. I got to write down the segment start time. How do we feel? Obviously, the Vikings drafted before you did. I kind of thought the first round was wild. Trey Lance going third, it's not like it didn't make any sense. Then Mac Jones falling all the way to 15. But, just what were you feeling? Did you get to watch the draft? Or what was your draft experience like this year?
I watched parts of the first round. I did the NFL Network's like guess the pick challenge just for S's and G's, and I got like the first 7 correct, and
That's
then
pretty
after
good.
that it kind of went all downhill. Yeah, no, I was pretty happy with that. There were some things, that kind of, the Raiders got reamed for the pick that they made. The Travis Etienne pick, that was kind of a head scratcher at times, but um, it doesn't. There's always those draft picks that people don't understand what's going on in the front office or up in that draft, the war room, as they call it. And so, yeah, overall, I thought the draft itself went fine. I didn't get to watch any of the second or third round because I was at a impromptu rehearsal dinner. And then yesterday I had a wedding all day. So I watched parts of the draft when I had time, but didn't get a whole lot of time to actually digest it.
Gotcha. I watched I watched the first 2 rounds, or the first 3 rounds, the first 2 days, beginning to end. Had Pat McAfee on the second screen, of course, for all the whole first round, which was entertaining. That's pretty much the only way you can get through the first round. It goes pretty slow, but I appreciate Pat for that. But yeah, and then by the third day, not really nothing exciting is happening. So, so let's move right into the team thoughts. Then, what did you feel about how the Packers did?
I thought they did fine. Initial reactions after the first night were Rodgers doesn't get his help yet again, but cornerback is of need. It's feeding a fed horse, as you say. But they were the number 1 scoring offense last year. So drafting a wide receiver, what good is that going to do if they can't stop the ball on defense? So going with corner, he wasn't necessarily deemed, the top corner in the draft, which obviously or the top of the remaining corner. But he at pick 29, there's a drop off typically in the late teens for picks. He may be a development, but he's fast, and that is something that we got burnt on with Kevin King. So that Eric Stokes pick, I'm excited for, because I do think that he's decent, or he's going to be a good replacement for King. And then, for as far as drafting for need, that's exactly what they did the remaining way. I was happy with the draft. I did not want to, the only wide receiver I would have been happy with in that first round would have been Elijah Moore. But even then, when we took Amari Rodgers in the third, I was pretty stoked about that.
What do you like about Amari Rodgers?
He's essentially Randall Cobb. He's a gadget player. His dad, or not his dad, Randall Cobb's dad coached him as a wide receiver, so he knows Cobb and Cobb knows him. So with the initials A. Rodgers, it's very possible that he's like, "Peace, Mr. Rodgers, come home," and we got the old Rodgers to Rodgers connection next season.
Gotcha. So yeah, I believe you touched on the kind of the first and the third. Any other draft picks notable to you, or?
The Ohio State center, Josh Myers, in the second.
That's right. The Lindsley replacement.
Yeah,
if I can talk.
And then in the fourth, we took an offensive tackle out of Mississippi, Royce Newman.
I assume that's a depth piece, or do you guys need a right tackle?
We need a right tackle. And then we got a guard, and then later on for depth. Our entire offensive line, I think, played all 5 positions at some point last year for the most part, except for Bakhtiari when he was healthy.
Sure.
So in general, it's nice to have. I looked at a stat that 3 of the last 4 fourth round offensive linemen that Green Bay has drafted have been all pro, and 4 out of the 5 have started 40 games for the team. So it's not, they seem to hit in the 4th round for offensive linemen. So hopefully this Royce Newman continues that trend.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So if you had to give the Packers a quick grade, or what have you been seeing on Reddit? I'm sure the Packers subreddit is going to be like, oh yeah, we fucking killed it. But have you been in any NFL subs or posts or anything? Like, what's the consensus that you've been hearing so far?
I told you I made a spreadsheet with all the grades from our correspondence teams and ours, and NFL Network.
You think I listen to you when you talk, Josh?
Probably not. I wouldn't.
No.
NFL Network gave us an A. The Ringer gave us a B. I kind of see us in that B+ range. that Eric Stokes pick, while it may be a reach, he's fast, he's taller than Jair Alexander, so he should complement them well. Might have, gone linebacker or gone something else at that point if there, I don't remember who's available, but overall I was happy with the draft. I'm not going to go out and say they won the draft, because that's the Minnesota Vikings job.
Yeah,
then they just go downhill from there, right?
We've got to win something.
But yeah, no, it's funny because some of the sites after round one, everybody jumps on the whole, oh, how'd they do round one? I saw a lot of D minuses, Fs for the Packers because they didn't take a wide receiver. So now it's, now A minus, that's what their first round grade is. So it's just like, all right, now what's it going to be tomorrow?
Sure. Yeah, no,
How about the Vikes?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna just so they don't have to hear us talk the whole time, I'm gonna cut it up a little bit. I asked the senior correspondents from last time if anyone could get anything real quick, and they're totally understandable if they couldn't. But we did get one voicemail in and then a text message in. So I'm gonna play the voicemail so we can stop talking for a sec, and then I'll read the message after. But this is the Bears correspondent and their initial reaction to the draft. Take it away, David.
After a night of quaaludes and unknown substances partaken in by this Bears correspondent, you can say that the 2021 draft was a success. There have been reports of a small alien controlling what was formerly known as Ryan Pace, because these draft day decisions were something uncharacteristic of him that we've never seen before. Trading up for Justin Fields and then the subsequent offensive lineman from Oklahoma State University, again, excuse me, my mind's still a little fuzzy, were two of the greatest moves we saw in the 2021 draft. Then continuing to get more offensive linemen and then filling our back picks with some defensive line depth, some cornerback depth, and then some skill positions that, of course, Matt Nagy will have fun trying to incorporate. The Bears draft was a success. Who knows, though? It is the Chicago Bears, and we shall see.
It's a fun fact that, in fact, the Chicago Bears are the Chicago Bears. So we got a lovely message from Eric's here, and I haven't read this yet. I'm assuming this is for the podcast. If not, you're just going to hear a personal message from Eric's to me. But this is our senior Steelers correspondent. In Colbert, we trust. Or maybe, does he go by Colbert or Colbert, the actual GM of the Steelers? Because I always think of, Stephen Colbert.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'd go Colbert.
All right, Colbert sounds much cooler than Colbert anyway. So in Colbert, we trust. I give the Steelers A- for the draft. They addressed their running game in some sort of way with their first 4 picks. Initially, I was a bit disappointed when they picked Frymuth in the second, but he seems to be a well-rounded player who can catch and block very well. Both linemen we picked look good and are able to immediately compete for the starting job. I still believe that will be one and done at best this year, but the draft addressed all our biggest needs and makes me excited for the future down the road. At least our players don't want our GM fired. Oof, little shot at you. Do you think that's necessary at Eric's? Do you think he's being a little too petty? Or?
No, I mean, I don't care. You usually try to bring down the ones that you're envious of. So yeah.
So it looks like, I believe you've got the draft grades here as well. What do they say about the Bears, and then the Steelers? The professionals.
So the Bears from NFL Network got an A, and then from the Ringer they got an A+. The Steelers got an A from NFL and a C from the Ringer. So a little bit of a deviation there. But I mean, as far as my general opinions, where I mentioned it last night at the wedding to a couple different people. From the Victoria's Secret League, that the NFC North as a whole, I think, won the draft. Like every year, the Vikings seem to draft well, but I thought the Chicago Bears did, and then the Detroit Lions did really well, based on just their first round pick alone. So,
not screwing it up when the best O lineman in the draft falls to you. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I would think that the Lions of yesteryear might have taken someone different, but.
Josh, this is a Motor City Dan Campbell run operation, okay? MCDC is now a force to be reckoned with in the North, okay?
Okay. But yeah, as a whole, I thought that in our entire division did well, which, it's what it is. It's fun.
Well, I mean, so it looks like I don't think we're going to find anything too controversial in these grades. It looks like so far, Steelers getting a C by the Ringer is the most controversial, but it looks like everyone's getting like A's and B's. So, I mean,
That's all I saw when I went through all 32 teams. It was a high C's and higher. It's like, huh. Well,
it's
okay, I
almost
guess participation trophies are a thing.
it's almost like these people don't know what they're talking about, and neither do we, huh?
Well, hang on here. We have a successful podcast according to some mothers. So,
Oh, the most successful podcast according to some others. But yeah, we'll move on to the Vikes here. So thank you, Erics and David, for contributing as senior correspondents should. And you'll have another chance to if you want. Maybe there'll be some more grades put out, or you can some more chance to think about it. We'll probably do another podcast in, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. So you'll have one more chance, one more at bat if you want, or not. But so we'll move on to the Vikes here. So the Vikings initially started the night with pick number 14. Then obviously we traded back, just like our great correspondent Dusty Johnson said they would trade back no matter what. So they picked up the 23rd pick and then also the 66th pick and the 86th pick. Which, I mean, most people are saying because we ended up getting Christian Darrisaw, one of the top tackles at 23, that the trade was a smash hit. Rick did not have a second round pick, so everyone, the way they were talking all the press conferences was that they were going to trade up into the second, but they ended up not doing that, and it seems like it worked out for them. It seems like kind of all the guys they wanted fell into or some of the guys they wanted fell into the third anyways. So with pick 66, we got Kellen Mond, QB, and that was directly a result of the trade for trading back with the Jets. At 78, we got Chaz Stewart, linebacker. He's more of an Anthony Barr type. He's an athletic linebacker the way Zimmer loves him. So that's a bit of a project, a depth piece. Obviously, we don't need a starting linebacker right now. Pick 86, the other pick we got from trading back with the Jets was Wyatt Davis, offensive guard. And if you were in the Viking sub, everyone in the Viking sub on draft day was convinced we needed to trade up high in the second to get Davis. And he fell all the way down to our third pick in the third round. So maybe Davis had some bad medicals or did some bad interviews, or, I couldn't really tell you why this guard would fall as far as he did. I can tell you not many guards went off the board in general, so maybe guards were just not an important position for teams this year, but it seems like most of our guys were happy about it. And then our last third round pick was Patrick Jones the second. He's a defensive end from Pittsburgh. He's got the same athletic build as a Wanham, as a Daniil Hunter, so it's another project for Andre Patterson and Mike Zimmer to try and mold into a future stud. We'll see how that works out, but it reads very similar to the last year's draft, the 2020 draft, when the Vikings didn't have to do anything too sexy. Is pretty much good value picks. We addressed all our positions in need, and we didn't really reach either while we were doing it. So it's like, you've mentioned it. I felt it a lot. I think Rick hits more than he misses, and sometimes the misses are big, and sometimes the hits are big, early in the draft and at the end of the draft, but. It's hard to not be satisfied with Rick. It's hard to not get two offensive linemen, both a tackle and a guard. Assuming that both our new guys start this year, end up starting on the line, no one on our offensive line will have lower draft capital than a third. They'll either have first, second, or third round draft capital invested into all the starting positions. So, I mean, for the Vikings fans to keep crying, I don't know what they want. So, addressed, not that they're going to be future Hall of Famers, but guys that should be able to keep Kirk upright a little bit more.
I had, as per usual, I like to peruse the Minnesota Vikings subreddit from time to time to just kind of
to get your jollies off,
just to see what sort of individuals are football fans of the Minnesota Vikings, and it got to the point where middle of the second day, middle of the round 3 or whatever. No, it was yesterday, middle of round like 5 or 6. People were already clamoring and saying that the Minnesota Vikings draft with their offensive line could now be a top 5 O-line. There were some comments about that, and I wanted to just put, just a picture of a bucket of ice water and say, cool down a bit there, Skippy. They got to play the game still. So how do you view your offensive line? I mean, you mentioned keeping Kirk upright. But do you think that they went from the 33rd ranked offensive line in the NFL to a top 5 just after this draft?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's not that. I mean, if you look back historically over the past 6 to 10 years, I mean, the offensive line since '09 has been pretty questionable. But even just looking at a more recent history, Rick does address the offensive line every year. He brings in free agents. He drafts guys in the later round. So it's not like Rick has completely ignored the line altogether. He's not getting the blue chip players necessarily, but everyone knows in a salary cap era, there's only so many dollars to be spent. There's only so many draft picks and draft capital you have. And your team's never going to have just one need. I know we can all point at the offensive line like it's our biggest need, but guess what? Our defense was absolute trash last year. Maybe if our defense was better, we couldn't, the opposing defense wouldn't have to just be teeing up on Kirk every single down because they know we have to pass it because we're behind, this and that. So, I mean, there's a big chess game, and it's bigger than people think it is. But I hope our offensive line moves up to more in the average range. I mean, that's kind of how I look at the Vikings. Mike Zimmer is an average to above average coach. Kirk Cousins is an average to an above average quarterback. I mean, there's only so many top guys. We can't all have Tom Brady's on our team. And we can't all have Bill Belichick's on our team. So if they can move into the average range, allow some sacks, someone will get a strip sack at some point. It's not like they're going to allow no sacks or anything like that. But I do think it's improved. I mean, Davis was one of the top guards in the draft allegedly, and Darisaw one of the top tackles. So these draft picks could bust just as easily as anybody else, but you hope they improve, So
All right.
definitely not going to a top 5 unit, though, to answer your question directly.
All right. I was just wondering if I found your burner or not.
What was the exact comment? Just that.
I mean, I don't remember. I didn't screenshot it or anything. It just, there are a lot of people in there, and maybe not top 5, but they said that they're one of the best lines in the division, one of the best, not in the division, but in the NFC conference. There we go.
I'm sure they said that, but no, that's so much unproven. I don't know how anyone could say that.
Okay. Should we discuss the teams from our other correspondents that may not have been able to provide feedback because they're either drinking too much to celebrate or drinking too much to forget it?
Yeah, go ahead and throw the Vikings grades first, and then any of the other correspondents that we couldn't get to chip in.
Oh yeah, I thought I did. From NFL Network, Minnesota Vikings got an A. I honestly think that their keyboard has no other letters but A for the NFL Network,
and it makes me feel good. So keep doing it.
And then the Ringer gave them a B minus. So I don't know how you feel about that, because we discussed the Minnesota Vikings winning the draft. According to the Ringer, the Packers beat the Minnesota Vikings in the draft this year.
The Ringer is a shit organization. They shouldn't exist. They shouldn't be allowed to publish.
Okay, so the Ringer and Bleacher Report are in the same boat, it seems.
Yeah.
Moving on, we will discuss the Cincinnati Bengals, because they had the number 5 overall pick, and they went with Jamar Chase, somebody that we thought they might, based on the recent reports before leading up to the draft. I saw a lot of people ripping them for that pick because Penei Sewell should have been the pick, and I still agree with that. But they did address offensive line in the second round. They went DN, D tackle in the third and fourth, and then they went offensive tackle, kicker, center, running back at the end. So they had a lot of picks. Overall, their grade was a B plus, and then the Ringer gave them an A plus draft. So it just kind of goes to show the Ringer is a crap organization that does not deserve to publish anything.
So you're even putting the Ringer down too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the ones that popped up and it was easy to read, so
Sure.
That's why I went with it.
Oh, dude, yeah, ease of access is one of the best ways to get featured on a pod for sure.
Oh, it could have been written by some kindergartner that's dyslexic, and as long as it was easy to read the grades, I'd have put it on there. Didn't even have to get the picks right.
All right, what else do we got for grades?
The Indianapolis Colts ended up with a B plus grade and a C plus grade from the Ringer. They didn't have as many picks as the other teams. Them and the Chicago Bears only had 7, but they did take Kwity Paye out of Michigan, and then Dio Odeyingbo out of Vanderbilt. So 2 DNs in the first 2 rounds. And then they waited quite a bit to get they waited because they had a 70 pick gap, 73. And they got a tight end, then a safety, then a QB, wide receiver, and offensive tackle. So, overall didn't have many picks to work with, but they addressed their D line right away.
Sweet. And that's all we got. Because I know Jack
That's
didn't
all I
get
got.
featured, so we ignored Jack, right?
Yeah, I mean Tampa Bay being the Super Bowl champion, they were and they re-signed all of their starters. They're literally just playing games with everybody now. And then the Patriots, which is Jack's real team, um, I didn't pay attention to anything they did except Mac Jones because Mac Jones is dad bod Brady.
Sure. All right. Well, do you have any other draft thoughts on the Packers or anybody else, or should we just keep her flying here, pal?
Let's keep her going.
All right, so we'll move on to the Dynasty draft. Josh, the draft literally, hold on, I know it's bad podcasting, but I really just want to write this down so I don't have to worry about it later. So the Dynasty draft literally just happened. We went from the Dynasty draft to this, so you probably even haven't had a good chance to digest your thoughts or your feeling on your picks. I did get enough time to upload the picture, and so we can put it on the screen here in a sec, but before I put it on the screen, just how did you feel about your draft? Obviously, you're picking at the 10, you're the champion last year, so it feels good to be the champion, but come draft time, obviously it's a little bit rougher improving your team and trying to repeat. So how are you feeling, reigning champ?
I'm not upset, but I'm not saying that I hit the steals of the draft either. So obviously picking a 110, I didn't expect a blue chip player to fall all the way to me because you got to get lucky when you're picking late, especially with a rookie draft like this, where some of the offensive players held out, some of the players that were supposed to go early didn't go early, and so as far as I haven't had too much time to digest my actual draft picks. I did take Lawrence at the 110, which if in a single QB league, it's probably too early for a QB, but I have Jameis. I guess I could probably see 2020 vision Winston on my team. Taysom Hill, Gardner Minshew, who's going to be replaced by Trevor Lawrence, and then Deshaun, Hunter Masseuse Watson. So more of Trevor Lawrence is more of an insurance policy if Deshaun Watson doesn't get to play, and then I have somebody that might be worthy of a start considering his running. And then I took 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs.
Go ahead and take it off the screen now. What's your outlook here? Maybe you already touched on it a bit. Like I said, I am actively in trade talks. I'm trying to get a deal done here, and it'll be an interesting deal if it does get done, but it's also more complicated. But what do you think your outlook is? Are you going to repeat? Are you going to take home that big pot this year, Josh, based on this draft or based on maybe a trade you'll make in the offseason?
We'll have to see. Injuries play a role in a lot of things. So if people are to stay healthy, I'd hope that I could repeat because it was a good enough roster to win last year. But I do think that with Todd Gurley just falling off a cliff because of his arthritic knee, my running backs are a little bit weak since I only got Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon in those slots. So we'll have to hope that something happens where either Gurley starts using CBD oil and it helps, or something else. How about you, Gar? You gonna repeat?
Well, the only other time I had the number 1 pick, the only other time I was worst, I went to first, Josh. So we're trying to bring that back in. We're trying.
Okay.
And no, I mean, if I look at my team right now, do I think it's head and shoulders better than it was last year when I was tanking? No. I mean, I didn't actually have the worst team in the league last year. Like I said then, and like I'll say now, I just looked at my team. I thought it was a middle of the road team. I was like, I don't think this team can win a championship. And if you look at your team and you think that, you can try and make a bunch of trades, but trades are more of a rarity than they are, a common thing in this league. So it's like, well, I'll just tank, try and get the most draft capital I can, and we'll see what happens. Najee Harris, I'm happy to have him. Running backs produce early in Dynasty when they get the high draft capital. So I like my shot as long as my running backs stay healthy. I'm the thinnest there, just like everyone else in the league is. So I mean, if my guys can stay upright, Kyler, Keenan's going out, but I think he's good. I got Calvin Ridley's my best receiver, so these guys stay up and produce. I've got a chance just like anybody else. I think I'll be in the playoffs, but a championship might still be a bit of a far fetch, but I can't tank 2 years in a row based on some of the moves I've already made. We'll see.
Yeah. So workshopping an outline for the fall to inspire some ideas. We got a list of some things that we've vaulted, but we can easily unvault. We talked a little bit about it the last one, but I still don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on it because we want it to be surprised, don't we?
I mean, some things can be surprises, but I know that some of these things you would put in, some of these things I put in, and like you said, we really just literally flew right through them last time. So it's just if there's anything else we wanted to touch on more, like the monetization conversation, I was going to touch on that a little bit more. The champions tryout, I was going to touch our champions branch out. I was going to touch on that a little bit more. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to go more in depth in or not, but
maybe we'll see how it goes. But I mean, to remind some of our listeners, maybe we have some new ones who don't know. We had studs and duds where we would have user or fan interaction to provide a stud and dud of the week, and we'd keep track of the point differentials throughout the year. Mm-hmm. We also had a weekly pick'em where we'd pick teams for locks and upsets. And that was another kind of monetary gain for some people if they wanted to play for money. And then the last thing that we're possibly going to unvault is my overall effort during the podcast. That one's still kind of a toss-up. If I were to give a percentage on it, we're at like a 13% chance that happens. But
that's more than zero, pal. We'll take it.
Yeah, no, that's 14% more than I'd expected. New ideas. We had mentioned your Gar's Gut, the food stadium highlights as a possibility.
Right. Well, no matter what, I want a Gar's Gut segment. I thought the name was too good. The fact that we're going into season 4 and we haven't used Gar's Gut yet, I'm very disappointed in. But you had the stadium highlighted. Yeah, I thought it was good. I just didn't know. If I could. I'm sure there's enough ideas or enough examples out there I could come with. Otherwise, the only other thought I had was if you're Heroes of Yesteryear, something else we touched on last time, or Glory Days, or whatever your official name will be. If you couldn't come up with, we end up doing 20 podcasts in the fall. If you could only come up with 10 good ones, we could go back every other week. I do Gar's Gut, then you do a Yesteryears the next week, and go back and forth. I thought that might be a good way to,
You're already at 20.
Are you? Well, all right. Well, then I'll have to come up. I mean, there's more than 20 stadiums out there, so maybe I'll have to branch out into baseball stadiums or something like that. We'll see. But it's not the worst idea in the world. All right, so Josh, here's where a little bit of conversation can happen. We didn't really have the chance last time. So the $2 Hala, I thought it was a cool name. That's how I came up with it. We know if we're just stealing ideas from Al, they have the 350 Club over in the the land of goons. And so you just pay $3.50 and you get your name featured at the beginning of the pod, and you can do it multiple times. So if you want your name read, 6 times, you could give them $3.50 6 times. The $2 holla was kind of meant to be a similar thing, more of a week to week, like you don't pay $2 and we feature your name the whole season. It's like you paid $2 for that show, and we could give you a little special shout out, or if there's a question you had, or if there's something you wanted us to talk about in your local community, whatever, we'd give you the time of day and we'd highlight something for you. But I don't know how many people are going to actually care about such a thing. So I mean, what do you think, just about the $2 holla in general to start?
I mean, yeah, we have a large platform, right? Huge. I would say, yeah, $2 holla. Otherwise, the one that I'd come up with, I believe, after you had proposed that idea, was the $4 follow, where we follow them with our official Hidden Oaks Overdose YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and OnlyFans.
Right.
And so that would be the only additional there, so they can say, yeah, look who follows me. And then it's just a, goofy ass picture of us.
Goofy ass picture, huh?
Oh yeah. Did you have more to add to that? Were you going to start a campaign? Do we need the Sarah McLachlan music to start playing?
I mean, that'd be terrific. That'd be great. No, I mean, it was just to be transparent, I talked about how, between the equipment and I bought some new screens once because I needed more screens when we're live streaming on like YouTube and stuff. So that's part of it. Realistically, I didn't start working from home until like much later last year. Then we started podcasting, so I didn't really need this chair and this desk before too. So I kind of split those costs in half. So it's about all in total is a rough figure. It's about $700 in, over the first 3 seasons, and then we pay $7 a month to be featured. So I mean, it's not like this thing is just for free. I know some of the people who do podcasts already had a bunch of equipment because they have music hobbies or this and that, but we didn't. We literally started from scratch. And we're not the best sounding, we're not the best looking, but we try and do an okay quality. The mics are in a medium range. I think I've given Josh enough crap that a camera upgrade would be fine, but my camera's not great either. It's an old 720, so my camera could be better as well. Just little things like that. But I said, I also listed out here, Venmo is the best way to currently do it. I literally just got an email this morning, and maybe you saw it too, the Hidden Oaks Overdose got an email this morning that Anchor is now introducing a paid subscription thing where people could subscribe to us through Anchor, and then we could offer them exclusive content. I don't know what people would want, so if you're currently listening to this podcast and there's something Josh or I could do that'd be extra on top of the podcast we already do, I'm not going to say Josh has a lot of time to do extra things, and I have my own life as well, but if there's anything you could do that you'd pay extra to see or hear or get, let us know. Obviously, there's things like Patreon out there as well, where we could do something like that. But again, when you go through those bigger services, you usually want a bigger volume of people who would subscribe because, there are fees taken out of it. So we'd want to make that money back in volume. Whereas right now we've got realistically 10 listeners, and this is a hobby for us. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. How do we monetize it? How do we not? What would the people pay to see? What would they not pay to see, so to speak? So it's a conversation we need to have with our listeners, and obviously between ourselves, because it's not like we can promise something and then not deliver it, because then we're even bigger douchebags. So it's if we're willing to put in any more work to make money, what does that work look like? Because we I'd say Josh and I already do a good amount of effort, but we don't really advertise ourselves at all, so you can't grow, you can't get more people interested to pay at our current level. So just kind of a crossroads. Things we could do with the money if we did raise it. Why are we talking so much about money if we don't really need it, if we're just doing this for fun? Carmel Bear has done a lot of free work for us. I have, given him some money over the years, but probably not what his actual talent and time is worth. Al has done some audio jobs for us, and I want to do some sounders for the fall as well, so I'll either work with Al or Walters on that probably, because that's just not a talent I have. But things like for when we're transitioning to new segments like the FanTASTY zone or, the podcast play along, just having little drops like on all your favorite radio shows or podcasts, like the Fantasy Footballers would be a great example for this crowd. But maybe pay them for their time, because I won't expect them to do free things for me, because I do favors for people, but it's not it's not the rule, it's the exception. If we ever got bigger, a lot of way channels make money is raffles. So we buy like a signed jersey, and then you buy so many raffle tickets, and you make your money by how many raffle tickets you sell. So you hope to sell more than whatever the item is worth. But we'd have to be much bigger for something like that. The only other thing I listed, I would save the money if we got any money, and then I will need a new computer someday because my laptop, I think, is at capacity for all the things we do. And I don't know how much more we could do other than just maybe improve the quality of what we currently do. But someday, whether it's a year from now, 3 years from now, we will need a beefier computer than I currently rock to do this. So I don't know, Josh.
Yeah,
do you have
me
any
too.
other thoughts on all the things we've talked about there? I know I kind of said a lot in a row there.
No, not really. I mean, your computer, my computer. I mean, I don't even have a computer. I'm on a Surface, so. But that's by choice. Yeah, no, I have nothing to add there. I know you have the next topic, but I could skip over to, no, never mind, you can go. Champions trying new things. You talked about that a little bit more in the last one where we have a new league.
Well, I mean, you and I have had a bit of a conversation about it. So what are your thoughts on it? What would you be willing to pay for another league? How much? I know that we're trying to add it like a prestigious league, so maybe it'd be worth money, but maybe not. So when I originally pitched you the idea, what were your thoughts? What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you want to change if you'd be involved?
First off, if it's for champions, I'm a champion, so I would be involved.
Correct.
As far as money goes, I probably, joining another paid league, it depends. So if it was free, I would have no complaints. If it was worth money, if it's 50, probably not. If it's 10, since it is more of an experimental, yeah, I'd probably be coerced after being asked twice. My thought process of it was, it would be cool that since it is more of a branching out and trying new things, it's to have because if there are a lot of different rule changes, to have it change not weekly, but bi-weekly maybe. So you get 2 weeks of this type of scoring, 2 weeks of this type of scoring, and then, different adjustments there. So we draft like it's a super flex or draft, a certain thing, but maybe not every week is a super flex. So you have to, adjust on the fly sort of thing.
Sure, and I just want to be clear because me and Al had a bit of a conversation because I think Al, other than Jack with his YouTube comments today and yesterday, Al and I think, was only the first listener, and we texted back and forth a bit, and Al had a similar idea, so I don't want to, because I haven't talked to Josh about that at all, so Al doesn't think we're stealing ideas. I know we've been accused of that a lot in the past, and we have stolen ideas from Al, but he had a similar idea when we were talking about this and maybe something else. Al said he's always liked the idea of being in a league where things change every week, so I don't know if he was thinking about the same changes you just talked about or different things changing every week, but just, Al, I'm assuming you listen to this, we're not trying to claim that as our own. I want to make that clear. Josh just had that on his own, but Al also had that idea.
I had it first.
Sure.
I just didn't share it. I'm just kidding.
I thought of this 3 years ago. I wrote it in my journal, see? Yeah, but
it's just a picture.
Another thing Al mentioned, to give him credit, is it'd be, he's always liked the idea of doing a league where kind of the bottom people get cut out. And so I know there's plenty of people on a list I would like to join this league, and some people I didn't even consider because I'm rude initially. Like Eric's texted me or messaged me after he heard the podcast. He was like, hey, I've won leagues. I'd be interested in such a league. So if we had a waiting list, it'd be interesting to see, whether we cut, depending on how long the waiting list is, whether we cut off the bottom one, the bottom two. I think we'd all agree this should be a 12-person league. So if you cut off the bottom one or two, and they could get back in line if they won a championship within a decade. But that'd be an interesting angle as well, where you cut out, you cut out the bottom at the end of the year, and then new people get to join in. So, I mean, if you're in a Champions League and you come in last, you're probably not worthy to be there, right? So, I mean, it kind of makes sense going along with kind of the dream of that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's kind of like a guillotine league of sorts, but
right,
not.
Right, but I mean, because he said, we don't, originally I proposed this as maybe like a podcast idea where each podcast has representatives. Al kind of walked that back a bit. He was like, well, I don't know if we can get a lot of people from the Goons to be interested, and if they are from the Goons, they're interested, they're probably also in the, the Victoria's Secret League. So there would just be plenty of overlap, so maybe it won't be the podcast representation thing, but all I said was, well, that gives me a chance to get more of the friends I might want in there, so that'd be good. But you won't want to alien kind of the Coon Rapids Blaine or the Coon Rapids, Gar split, so to speak. So hopefully we'll be able to work that out where everyone's happy to compete and everyone's happy to participate and be fun and all that. But so yeah, so it's a cool idea. Jack said he's interested. I'm sure we could coerce Walters and Dave to be interested as well. So I'm not saying it's going to be $100 league. Josh said 50, probably not. 50, 40, something like that maybe, just because it is supposed to be more prestigious. Maybe we could, grease Josh to get up there. And if not, we could fill Josh's spot with someone else. But so I just want to read through my notes here to make sure I covered everything. I already did that. So I said kind of list out. So the whole point of this league is that prerequisite is being a champion, but also we're trying new things. So new rules, like Josh said, super flex, tight end premium, IDP, all that kind of garbage where you have all these interesting scoring rules and roster rules and this and that. So I said kind of the outline could be list out all the ways we can mess up the rules, and everyone gets 3 votes. So, we've all done that in school. Like, we have all these different ideas. You get 3 votes. You can put 1 pebble in this bowl, 1 pebble in that bowl, 1 pebble in that bowl. And then the top 3 choices are kind of what we do for that year. So it's not so chaotic. And, we change 50 rules every year. And then, I asked the question, do we want a base thing, a base rules that are always the same, or like tiered PPR, or it's always super flex or something like that, but we can work that out. And then the next year we vote on 3 new things and separately vote on whether we want to keep any of the 3 things we did last year. So I understand there's a finite amount of rules. There's only so long we could try new things. Eventually we will have tried everything, but it's just keeping it fresh. We didn't do tight end premium last year. Maybe 2-3 years ago, and people like, I want to do tight end premium again based on the list of options. So that's just one way to approach it. And then one other note I have here is people I'd like to include, just people I thought of off the top of my head that I think would be good for this league. And again, Eric's and Mika, I apologize, I wasn't trying to, shun you, but I thought of Minnesota people first. So I listed out Derek. He's a champion in the redraft and the dynasty, or no, not in the dynasty, but in the redraft league 3 times. Connor, he's won the dynasty league. He's a high participation guy, high chatter. Hammer, he's won the redraft league 2 times. His participation probably wouldn't be as high, but that's because he has a kid and a wife, and he's got a lot going on. But he's obviously really good at fantasy. So even if he's maybe not as high participation, he's really good, and that's what matters in a championship league, I think. Aaron's a guy I know. Derek knows the best, and then I know. And then Josh, you've met him a couple times at Super Bowl parties, I think. But
Yep.
So those are just kind of the 4 guys I thought off the top of my head that I know are former champions and I know would be like good guys, high participation guys. But then Eric's and Mika, we'd of course consider them as well. And if they didn't make the first year because we had enough Minnesota guys, they would be, I'd say right now they'd be the top 2 on the waiting list. So. And that's pretty much all I had on the championship league. Josh, any other thoughts? And again, I'm talking a lot here, but it's mainly because, I've had the conversations and this idea kind of came out of my brain. So any other thoughts before we move on to something else?
Nope.
All right. Heroes of Yesteryear. You already talked about that last time. Anything else you want to say?
Nope. I pretty much said what I needed to say last time.
All right. Meme of the week. Good idea, bad idea? Would you participate if we got no one else to participate each week? I know you're a big meme guy.
Maybe. I don't know. Haven't decided yet.
I mean, you could always just pick your own as your favorite, too, if you don't want to give credit to anyone else. So
that's true.
You can inflate your ego a bit. And then, So this was the last note last time, weekly contest, bingo, scavenger hunt, etc. You said you don't remember writing that last time. Do you have any other, have you had any other remembrance since last time of why you might have put that down? Because I know I didn't.
No, absolutely not.
All right. Well, the chat has kind of died out. I know this is podcasts get longer. It happens. We've given our draft grades. We've talked about the things we wanted to talk about last time, more in depth. So I know no chance Dave listens to this, but if we get a listen out to you, it would be, or otherwise Jack will probably let you know about the Champions Branch Out League idea. And we'll start filling people in. We're in no rush. I mean, this I assume would have to be a redraft league unless people want to do a keeper league. No way you can do that as a dynasty league because things would just change too much. But yeah, I mean, if you got nothing else to talk about, Josh, we're here in our outro. What else do you got going on this Sunday? Any other plans? I know I've already taken up a lot of your time, but
I mean, I was supposed to start laundry and dishes an hour ago, so
am I gonna get a mean text from Nikita?
Hopefully.
So yeah, I mean, what do you think? 2 weeks for one more pod? We'll just get more. We'll hopefully get some grades on the Dynasty draft, and we could talk about the Deflate These Balls League at that time, or what else would you want to talk about in 2 weeks? Just as one more pod for the spring.
Yeah, we can do some draft grade stuff for the Dynasty stuff.
All right, rock on, man. Well, that's all I got. That's all Josh got. We'll be back one more time this spring, probably in 2 weeks or so. Stay safe out there. COVID is still going on a little bit, so don't jump off the ledge just yet. Just let people get vaccinated. The people that don't want to get vaccinated will get it, and people even who get vaccinated will get it. We'll get this immunity going. So don't go hog wild just yet. Give us a little more time. HiddenOaksOverdose@gmail.com, Facebook.com/HoodPod, and Anchor.fm/HoodPod are all the places you can interact with us. And we appreciate all those who do. Be a friend, tell a friend about the podcast, because if we do start growing, we can start making some money and maybe start making a better show. Although I like to think we're pretty good right now. So, yeah, have a good one, guys. We love you. Bye.
Bye, friends. Because we had the draft right before this, Gar.
Yeah.
But that felt like a long one.
That was only an hour.
Okay. Well, it felt like a long one.
Well, I mean, you've probably been, yeah, like you said, because you got in that chair probably, 20, 30 minutes before the draft, and then there was some time between the draft and this. So you've probably been sitting there a good 3 hours at least.
Oh, yeah. But
I appreciate
right.
your time. Go make your wife happy.
Yep, I got to pee.
Bye.